Welcome to another episode of Inside the Barrel, where Jon and I and our guest today, Lucas, are going to talk about consulting life. We're going to talk about scripted REST APIs and trying to solve some unique challenges when it comes to performance and specifically around scripted REST APIs. So excited to have you here today, Lucas, and maybe you want to talk a little bit about like how this topic came up in your work and
Sure.
um,
Yeah, no, definitely. This happened quite recently, actually. I'm actually right now working on a project, on a CSM project that has a bunch of different integrations. One of the integrations is to allow the client to pull data from ServiceNow, and it's like huge amounts of data. And so the reason that this came up was they said we don't want to change too much. They basically want to like switch the endpoint to the new endpoint and get the exact same thing. And so I was thinking, oh, okay, is there a way of doing that? Because they have a very specific payload. And so I was trying to figure out a way of doing this, and I kind of text Dorian saying, "Hey, have you ever tried?" Because every time we do a REST API or a scripted API, ServiceNow adds the result attribute to the payload. No matter what you actually return, there is always the result. So at that point, I thought, oh, okay, can I actually tell the client? Because I don't want them to change anything. They can't change anything. We need to return the exact same thing. And Dorian said, well, have a look at this streaming API. And I hadn't, I didn't actually know about that. So, like in a couple of minutes, we kind of exchanged a few messages, and I was going to, I was reading it, and then I kind of started making some changes, and then, it went back and forth, and then I think this is the reason that we wanted to kind of show this today, because it's
yeah.
extremely interesting.
Yeah, and just for the audience, right? Like, so normally ServiceNow has their scripted REST API that returns a serialized object, JSON object, and it's in a very standard format. Um, and they also provide the ability to modify that and utilize streaming, which is a little bit different from your normal REST APIs because streaming is in some ways stateful because it's essentially a stream of information that's kind of going through. Um, the reason that I recommend Lucas to kind of look at this was because there is performance gains from streaming. Like normally when you try to send a huge payload, which we had a video related to that on like millions of records kind of coming into ServiceNow, there is a response that can take 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and that's not a really good practice for your APIs to have a long response time for whether something is a 200 or not, right? And so the beauty of streaming is you actually get that 200 response or that 400 response like instantly, so that it keeps the standard there from a performance standpoint. And then as the data is streamed through, the client's able to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, so the reason the specific reason for me wasn't performance at the beginning, because the API that I'm building is actually paginated. So because
Mhm.
we also use pagination today, so of course, if we are already controlling the number of pages and the amount of records per page that they can actually consume, there
Mhm.
wouldn't be too many problems because we are controlling that. But
Mhm.
again, I think we're going to be able to see that through the demo, because there's a lot of points that I want. And so again, the REST API, as you said, is kind of like
Mhm.
a ongoing conversation. It's like, hey, where are
Mhm.
you going? Oh, I'm going here. Oh, when? So it's kind of like you ask and you get a response, immediately back. And then the
Yeah.
stream is quite interesting because it's like, hey, it's kind of like through like events. So like,
Mhm.
it keeps coming back as long as there is more data to come.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you said demo, so shall we try to jump into a demo?
Yeah, sure. And it's very interesting because this is a demo that is very well. It's something that I am building currently, but
Uh-huh.
of course, I'm using a different instance. But
Uh-huh.
so let me
Cool.
know if you guys can see my screen, and I'm gonna zoom in if necessary.
So we can't see it yet if you are trying to share it. There
Yeah,
should be like a share.
yeah. There's here. Yeah. I want to proceed. So if I do this, share. I click share. Ah, okay. I think. Oh, this is because of the this Oh, it's probably because of this tool, Melon app. I think it's not allowed
Yeah.
to do that. Yeah,
Well, I'm still.
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Well, there
Yeah,
should be when I normally when I click share, it'll like will do a little pop-up saying which window you want to share, and then you select it, and then now you're able to share it.
yeah.
Yeah, but if he's never done it before, it could be a permissions issue, and especially on a Mac, how to be like, oh, well, you got to restart.
Well, yeah, exactly, because like it says like Chrome does not have permissions to access your screen. Please follow these steps. Um,
So on the top left where the URL is, there should be like a little like permissions for the website. Just do some
it's all here, like camera, microphone, pop-up, sound is all enabled.
allowed, and the share still doesn't work.
Mm-mm. Oh, this is bad. This is actually bad. This is bad.
You'll figure it out. I have faith.
Right. Let's read this stuff here.
Oh, and someone really likes our sessions, so I thought I'd show that up while you're doing that. Um,
Maybe I'll try again. I'll just come back. Maybe there's
yeah, AM, like we're really happy that you enjoy these, and hopefully we'll get a good demo for you on this one. And actually, what I could do while we're waiting for Lucas to come back, is show the documentation from ServiceNow. So
Is this on the stream component or
yeah,
just REST
yeah,
as itself?
both.
Okay,
Because they do a nice comparison. So let's
I got you.
get Lucas back while Lucas figures out how to do the share. I'm gonna share mine.
yeah. You
Hey,
can. Hmm.
just on an off topic, I see that Dorian's wearing a green shirt, huh?
Yes, so I'm not pinchable, right? Happy St. Patty's Day.
Right? I forget how this video is, but there's my green
There's
there
green.
too.
Like South Park just came out with an episode. I don't know if you watched South Park yesterday, and it's all about St. Patty's Day and how like pinching and is like not a thing anymore. You can't do it because there's no consent, right? Like it's like
Can
they're
I
like
have consent to pinch you, please?
yeah, exactly. So while Lucas is figuring that out, I thought I'd start us off with some of the docs. So if you go to ServiceNow's docs, there is one specifically on like scripted REST API example for streaming versus the serialized response. And essentially, what ServiceNow kind of shows here is you're essentially able to set certain like headers, and then you use this get stream writer object, and you essentially write to the string to that stream whatever you want. So they're showing how they do their results one as an example, but you could modify the payload however you want, and then they essentially iterate over some objects, and then they close their response, and that essentially shows a response similar to this, which in this case looks pretty identical. But in comparison, the normal response looks something like, or the normal one would look like, notice here there's no headers, but it's doing pretty much the same thing and just pushing and returning the response, and it adds that result to it, and so they look pretty identical if you want them to look that way. It's really the difference on like performance, or if you wanted to fully control all of the example.
The response.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like if you wanted pagination, right, which Lucas is, in his case needs to do, like he needs to be able to modify that entire object. Uh, so that's kind of where that is, and we'll kind of show an example of in Postman or in command line, actually how long it would take to do a certain type of stream. a stream versus a serial response. So you can actually see the performance gains that you would get when it's like an API to API.
Nice.
And that's important. That's important because normally, like, there is like a best practice when it comes to how long a response should take. So if you do have 10 seconds, there may be certain things out there that if you're waiting that long may decide like, I'm gonna say it's a failed response and then never actually connect to your ServiceNow data. So
Yeah.
so we're and I think while I don't even know if my instance is set up. This is let's see if I can help. And worst case, Lucas can just give me access on his instance, and I'll do that. So
speaking of developer instances, this morning I was trying to log into mine, and I got to tell you, I am not a fan of their single sign-on. Like,
I mean,
you log in, and then it takes you right back to the login screen, so you have to log in again.
Yeah, there's definitely some like weird looping that happens in those cases.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Access to
Any success, Lucas?
No, it's in fact when I go to my system preferences on my Mac, it actually says recording, and Google Chrome is there, just like the documentation says here, but it doesn't let me actually share. So
do you got Firefox?
Let me try Firefox. Yeah.
If not, just shoot me create an account for me, and then just walk us through, and I'll try to do all of the things that you were planning to do.
The luck of the Irish is not with us today.
So true. So
true. I'll give you this here. Let me just text you, so then you can do the thing.
Yeah.
But this is another thing about the cohesiveness of the community. So Lucas reaches out to Dorian because they know each other and they've been there. And I've seen this a number of times. You have the people that you've either worked with or met at knowledge back in the day, and that you keep in contact with, because there's always questions floating around between each other, even outside of the SN Devs Slack channel or Tim's Discord channel.
Yeah. I used to collaborate with Jace. We need to get Jace on one of these.
So I've been talking to him lately. He's interested on getting on the show.
Awesome.
But he's put together an RSS thing.
Oh, man, I'll show that off while we wait for Lucas to send me some information, because that's like a really good one.
Yeah, Cask's blog is all messed up.
Oh, really?
It's got malformed links or something. So we got to talk to someone at Cask about getting that squared away.
So
I told him, I said, hey, get our video feed on there from YouTube. So I think we're on there.
I saw this yesterday.
Oh, yeah,
I was
there
like,
we are.
We're on here. So for those that this would be like a cool just news podcast, I think, Jon, that we could explore, right? Just like talking through some of the things that we see on here, because I think there's some really really good stuff on here, but sometimes it's hard to know what are you actually need or looking for. But Jace did an awesome job of RSS feed style, being able to find things. So
Dorian, I sent you let me just see, can you see here? I sent here as well, because in fact you don't need, I can give you the access to the instance, but
nice.
If you open I can actually guide you through, if you open your Postman, for example, then we can
we could do this. Yeah. I can open Postman and share some Postman.
Yeah, I gotta say, I love Postman. When it's coming to API work,
it
makes things so easy.
You could have also made this API no authentication.
This one, if you open the user,
it's open to the world.
Yeah, let me open up Postman real quick.
Yeah, just open Postman. In fact, what happens is the example is gonna go through. There is over 55,000 task records in the system, and the API call, a few API calls that we're gonna make, it's a paginated between 1 and 70,000. So we're gonna be able to see exactly what's coming and how it's coming back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it'd actually be better if we did this in curl, just like command line. Just because Postman doesn't technically support streaming, so it wouldn't look any different to a person. Whereas we do want to show that we could show it through.
Yeah, I think like I have the idea was that we would show in Postman to say like, hey, I have because basically I have like two calls. One I call good and another one I call bad.
Gotcha.
And but we can do in curl because go to your terminal.
Yeah.
Go to your terminal. I'm gonna paste you the actual curl
perfect
script, and then we can.
All right. Oh, look how beautiful we have of a terminal. If I would have been prepared, I would have like made some like fancy profile. So I feel a little out of it with my vanilla.
Can you actually copy this, or is it how does it look there? Because in the message there.
In private, yeah. Let me check. In private.
Last one, like the curl.
Yeah, let's try it. I think it gets cut off though.
Yeah, so let me see on WhatsApp here if it's a bit better.
We were close.
Yeah, if you have your WhatsApp open there, you can.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that one should work.
Oh wow, nice. All right, you'll have to change this password at some point since
it's a
Whoa, sharing plain text passwords.
That's just gonna. Oops. All right, now okay, there we go. All right, so
yeah,
there we go. Cool. So
this is called like bad, and so see, it's kind of it's counting. It's probably like around 12 seconds to come back because this one, essentially.
So let's.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk through that. What that just did. Sorry, my curl. Okay. So first thing what we're doing is we're doing like a curl command to this URL or this rested API, and we call this endpoint bad data. And we're saying that we want 70,000 records per page, right?
Yeah.
And
you can see that we read like the number. Yeah, we read 50,000, 58,000 something. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end, it was 58,000. What would have been cool is if we could like time how long that took. But I think you can.
It's around 12 seconds or something.
12 seconds. Yeah. Cool.
Something like that. And so the reason, just explain. We don't have the code here, but explain that. Basically, this one, we have a call to a script include that is basically saying it's going through all 58,000 and it's building that object. And at the very end, after we actually were done with reading the records, we then say, okay, stream this out. And we basically stringify the entire object at the very end. And that's the reason it took like all this time to come back. And the other one, now I'm going to send it to you. We're going to see the difference of that one. So let me just post it here.
Dorian, is there not a way to like call a start time before you do the curl and then have it?
So I think you can, but I think I'll try it afterwards, right?
Okay.
Because I feel like there is like a time like you can do. Let's see. I'll just try the same. This is the same command, but with time in front of it. And I think when you put time in front of it, there's probably some options for it, but we'll see what time tells us at the end.
And it's interesting that it's kind of like, it feels like it is streaming, but it's not. This is just the interface.
Yeah, this is just accepting that entire payload, right?
Yeah.
So 22 seconds.
Yeah, that was quite high.
But with the streaming one.
Yeah, so this one.
So you see how instantly we're getting response, right? Like that's kind of the beauty of streaming, right? Is like we're just instantly getting the response that we needed. So so it doesn't look like much to a user, but it is a lot to a system. So let's try that same command with time and see if there is any difference there.
Yeah, I don't know what time it's gonna actually. Is it because in the end of the day it's kind of streaming, but we got the response pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I mean, it did show 14 seconds. So at least we were. I think the biggest thing again, like we're getting a 200 response right away,
Yeah.
which is the key difference between like a stream versus the other one. Um, and I don't know if do you have an admin user account? I could
Yeah.
hop into
Yeah.
that if
Yeah.
you want to send that over to me.
Sure,
I'll
sure,
hop into the instance.
sure. And I'll show you. Yeah. I'll give you the.
You can just like walk me through. Did that make sense though, John, for you to see that difference?
Uh, I think I missed it at the beginning if there was a change.
Hmm.
But in my mind, if you're getting that 200 right off the bat, you can definitely handle, as far as the front end goes, you can handle presenting what's happening to the user, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. So let's
And it's
let's
like, the user calling and consuming this API needs to be prepared for this. But we know, and this is kind of like backwards compatible, because even a system that is not ready, for example, if you look at Postman is actually working on this problem right now. But when you execute, it still executes as a normal REST API, so it waits until the end. But if the other system is actually doing streaming, then probably you can probably see some difference there. Um,
mhm.
hmm.
So let's
And if you go to Studio, there it's quite easier for us to actually speak.
yeah,
There's an application there called Demo Streaming. I think I call it something like that.
awesome.
Yeah, that one. And so if you go to we have like at the very bottom we have the calls, like the bad and the good ones. But you can go to
Mhm.
this include called WS pull request. And there is a method called bad request and then good, and I put some comments as well. So just after the initialize, there are two methods. No, scroll down.
Scroll down.
Scroll
Okay.
down a little bit. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this one is process good, and the reason it is good, if you look at the right there, like 80, basically here we we start the streaming. We then
Hmm.
say the content type is JSON, and then we set the status. And just after that, we go through we start streaming. So the first one is like the data. So this is exactly how I want my object to be. And
Hmm.
then as we go through the loop, you can see that we stream out straight away. So we read the one object, we stream it out, and then we go to the next one. And then in the end, we kind of like, we just end it with the
Awesome.
yeah. And that's the difference between this one and the next one down there. If you keep going, the difference between this one now is you see that I don't stream at any point, only within the while loop.
Hmm.
Sorry, even after that. Sorry,
It,
within the while loop, we build that object entirely, and then at the very end, we stringify the whole thing, and that's the reason that it takes a lot of time to.
Yeah, and just it's nice that your example is it's technically using ServiceNow Stream, but you're mimicking the bad one as if it was a serialized object, right? So that's what essentially
Yeah,
you're doing versus using the stream.
and the reason it was because remember, Dorian, you said to me like, "Oh, read the documentation." What I did was because I was serializing the object. I said, "Oh, it's quite quick. Let me just stringify and I can actually stream it out straight away."
Hmm.
And then we thought, "Oh, wait. If we are streaming, isn't it better to actually stream as we read every record?" And that's the
Hmm.
reason that I called bad and good, because if you stream, you have to do it right. You have to do one by one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I figured we can do is we probably can show it here through the REST API Explorer, as long as I understand what the header looks like. So let
No, there
me.
is no header. You just have to pass like there's a query parameter called per_page, and you can put like 70,000, for example. And then there's one called page, and you just put it one. Yeah, that's all
Nice.
you need to do.
Cool. So this is for the bad one, and when we click send, you'll notice here it's thinking, right? Like this is how much time it's taking. Like if I was another service waiting for a response.
Yeah. And it could
Um,
like you
and
said,
so
it could give us a time out on that too.
Yeah.
exactly. So it took us, 12 seconds to do that one, right? So that's what that does, and this is essentially, what it looks like. Um, so I'm actually curious how ServiceNow is going to handle this streaming in their own platform.
Yeah.
70,000 plus page one. And now when we click send, so it's interesting, it's still waiting as well. So, this is an example where like uh, a UI, things similar to like Postman needs to be able to support streaming, because if it doesn't, it'll just look, the same,
Yeah.
right? Like it didn't notice anything different here for it. But another service that does support like checking for a status code of 200 right away will be able to get that performance that it needs. So
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I think like for me today, like, so there are, of course, there is performance, but for me, this wasn't the case, right? It was more that
Mhm.
I don't want, the client said, oh, we don't want to change the API. We just want to change the
Mhm.
endpoint. So for me, this was the only thing that I could do to remove that result from the payload.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
my reason. And again, it's already paginated. So there was, there wouldn't be any need for any streaming, but I'm
Uh-huh.
using it because of that reason, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a nice, like, I don't want to say workaround, but it's nice that ServiceNow gives you the feature to control like
Mhm.
what you return in your body, right?
Mhm.
And if you essentially, those are the two use cases. You want to do streaming or get some performance increase, then streaming's your way. Or if you need to modify the body to not like return the result, or
Mhm.
if you needed to paginate, right? Like if you needed to build the pagination, like ServiceNow doesn't, have that out of the box. So those are three good use cases on why you would want to use their this streaming scripted REST APIs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else? I mean, if not, like we can call this one a shorter one.
I mean, this was like, it was already pre-built, right? It wasn't,
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, we
The,
didn't we
the,
it
we
is
the
a
didn't like it.
magic
real,
oven.
Yeah.
it is a real life. I'm actually working on this right now, for a client, so it's quite interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was
Cool.
yeah, I think that was probably it. Mhm.
Awesome. Well, if you guys like this content, feel free to subscribe or follow Lucas on LinkedIn or or John and I. And if you guys, anyone in the audience does have other topics you want us to tackle or kind of walk you through, like we're always open to doing so. So, all right. Well,
Cool.
thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank
We'll
you.
see you.